Hello, 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 everyone. This is Willie Cartwright with From Save to Sane. I'm here with you again, and I appreciate all of you who have joined us. Those of you who have joined us live, please send me a message in the chat. Let us know what's going on with you, and if you have any comments or any insight or any information or whatever it is that you would like to add. We certainly appreciate that. Again, hello to all of you. As I said before, those of you who are joining us live, and those of you who may get this at a later time and later date, we appreciate all of that. Those of you, whatever time zone you're in, my friends who are on the East Coast where I started off, thank you for joining me. And those Central and Mountain and now Pacific where I am now, thank you all for being a part of this as we do another installment from Save to Sane. And today's topic, I'll tell you now, and then we'll get into it a little bit later. But today's topic is about why do people remain religious in spite of evidence to the contrary, part two. Those of you who were with us a couple of weeks ago, we did a part one, and we really barely got into it. And so I felt that there was a need for us to do a part two. And so this is what we are focused on today. But before we get started, let me do what I always do. Say thank you to a couple of people. Taisha Essick, thank you so much for everything that you've done. Hope that you are doing well out there. Certainly appreciate you popping in from time to time, but hope all is well with you and the family. We'll always be in debt to you for getting us started on this platform here. Thank you so much. And absolutely thank you to my wonderful wife, who, as I always say, is extremely supportive, has supported me through all of this and continue to do so. So those of you can see, I'm growing the facial hair back, the beard and everything back. So I'm trying to see how that works. I'm never really patient enough with it. But and then I think I look too old or whatever. But whatever. It's just, I was sort of looking at myself and laughing. But yeah, Sharon, what's going on? I will. I will absolutely tell her that you said hello. Thank you so much, Sharon. Appreciate it. Glad to have you with us today. I don't know if when we first started talking about this topic, let me do this first. Pick up my book, awesome book, if I said so myself, From Save to Sane, My Journey Away from Christianity and Why Christianity Has Been Detrimental to the African American Community. Willie O. Cartwright. You can pick this up on Amazon or you can email me, send me a message, and I'll get you a signed copy out. So a couple of weeks ago we started talking about this, and we barely sort of scraped the surface of it, touched the surface of it. Um, yes, absolutely, Sharon. Sharon said she had to get on with us one day. Absolutely, that would be wonderful. Um, and so yeah, so we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and we barely got into it. And we're probably not going to finish today because I have to finish up a little bit earlier. Maybe instead of an hour, we'll go 45 minutes. I have another call I need to jump on. Also, while I'm thinking about it, I am actually presenting to the Florida chapter of Sunday Assembly. We're going to discuss nuns and secularism as a presentation that I've given before, but this is to a different organization. It's going to be via Zoom. I will actually be on the East Coast this week, but it'll still be this weekend, but it'll be Zoom, and that's happening on Sunday. I've been asked by a couple of people from a couple of other organizations that I'm a part of to see if I can get a Zoom link, and I'm going to try to get that email the guy tomorrow and see if there's a outside Zoom link that someone who's interested that's not part of the group can watch the presentation. But it should be about an hour, I think 40 minutes for the presentation and then 20 minutes for Q&A. So I enjoy doing these type of things. This is probably what I enjoy doing the most, along with these podcasts. But yeah, Sharon's an awesome book, but now it's time for the next one. Sharon, I had said I was going to write one. I started, and then sort of got distracted, and then sort of like, I'm not sure. But I think that I will eventually write another one. I'll just continue with what I've already started. And so I think writing is like being an artist. I don't. It's sort of like inspiring, and so for people who draw or write or do poetry or comedians, anybody that do something that is very artistic for a living, meeting deadlines and all of that. I kudos to them. They are remarkable people because for me, it is all about being inspired. And if this is something that you have to do to make a living and you're able to do that, I take my hat off to you. Absolutely. So those people who write for a living, who do poetry for a living, who do art, drawing or painting for a living, comedians, all of that, I'm kudos to you guys. So yeah, so we're gonna get another book out here at some point. But thank you, Sharon. Um, so when a couple weeks ago when we started about this topic, I didn't really talk about why and how I came up with this topic. I mean, it's obvious in the title is obvious, but I engage in these conversations and I talk to people, and the further I get away from Christianity, which is my faith for 40 plus years, it is amazing to me, especially in this time frame, in this era of the internet, that people are still willing to die on this hill of Christianity, and even with all of the information. So it is amazing to me that people, you can do the research yourself. The information is out there. Some of the things are just completely asinine, and people still are willing to die on this hill, die on this sword of Christianity. Yeah, my religion is the one, is the right one, so forth and so on. And so that's sort of what this topic came about. Sharon said I started a business, so I'm in the stage of learning back office stuff. Okay, good deal. We're gonna have a conversation about that at some point. Yeah, so as I was saying, we had talked about why people do this a couple weeks ago. We talked about conditioning from childhood being one of the bigger factors, fear and punishment, and so all of that. Another reason that I think for a lot of people, and I think we also touched on this too, was the fear of hell, punishment, and the wrath of God. And I talked about how getting over that is one of the most important things if you are deconstructing, especially from the theology, the Christian theology that tells you that God is a jealous, wrathful, um, vengeful God. And this is not every denomination that says that. But where I came from, I was taught that God was jealous and God was vengeful. And absolutely, if you didn't do what you were supposed to do, you would end up in hell. And so that was a huge deterrent for people who were questioning their faith. That was the strap of the leash that held a lot of people on. And even when people deconvert, and I've spoken to a lot of people, and we have conversations about deconverting. This is one, if not the number one topic that people wrestle with, or have to address, getting over, is the fear of hell and the fear of God being angry with them and punishing them. I think I've said this before. When we had our business, that's when we sort of converted about halfway through us maintaining our business. And as I said before, every time we had a slow day or a slow month or whatever, I would thinking that, oh, maybe God is punishing me or God is punishing us because we deconverted, we left Christianity. And so you had to get over all of that. For me, and hopefully this helps some of you guys, I just started doing research on the origins of hell, where it came from, why it's in its present form. We don't see it in the Old Testament. Um, where did it originate from? How did we get the imagery of what we have now? And once I understood that, then it was a lot easier to say, okay, this hell thing is not real, and I'm not. And then on top of that, you start to think about, if this is an all-loving God, an all-powerful God, number one, being an all-powerful God and an all-knowing God, why would you create a hell knowing that some of your creation is going to end up in this horrible place? Um, and so why not create us to where we do not sin? And it's just not about free choice and all of that, because in this Adam and Eve story, obviously that wasn't an issue at the very beginning. But even if so, why not create us to where we cannot sin? That doesn't necessarily mean that we wouldn't have free will to worship or to believe that this God exists, but make us to where we don't sin or don't create sin to begin with. Or how about just not creating hell? And at the very worst, if we choose not to believe in this God, then our quote unquote punishment would be just us dying, and that's it, as opposed to us dying in our souls or whatever, burning in hell eternally. And so once I pieced those things together, it was a lot easier to get over this whole hell thing about burning in hell and all of that. And so once that was removed, I had a clear path to really questioning the faith and the religion without worrying about the repercussions of hell. And so that was very, very important. So those of you who are wrestling with that, I encourage you to study and learn the history of hell, where it came from, where we get the imagery from, all of that, and it would certainly help you in getting over this whole thing of hell if you are in the deconversion process. Sharon also said Christianity has been so far stretched that you couldn't become a Christian if you wanted to do so. Yeah, people don't understand that belief is not a choice. I know that sounds crazy to some people, but either you believe or you don't. So as Sharon is saying, like, I couldn't force myself to believe now if I wanted to, and if I did, it wouldn't be sincere, it wouldn't be authentic. And as they say, God knows your heart. So even if I pretended to believe for the sake of not going to hell, I would still end up in hell because I really don't believe. There is until something earnestly changes my mind, unless there's some evidence or an experience that earnestly changes my mind, I cannot pretend to believe when I don't believe. And all the things that I've read and researched and the writings I've done myself and the questions I've had answered and everything has led me to where I am now. And so it's no turning back. It's no putting the toothpaste back into the tube, as they say. And so, yeah, it is very, very, very difficult. The next thing I think that people wrestle with when it comes to leaving religion, in spite of the evidence, is the fear of death or it being the end. And so I oftentimes will posit that religion was started because humanity could not accept not knowing something. And part of that not knowing is what happens to us when we die. If you really think about it, it's sort of an ego trip, right? It's a sort of a humanity's ego trip to think that we are so important until that after we die, this can't possibly be the end because I am whatever I am, who I am, and so this can't be the end. So there must be something else for me after that. That is an ego trip. Like everything else, every living creature, every sentient being, you live and you die. And in the grand scheme of things, our existence is very minute. This earth is somewhere with uh, how the universe is what 4.5 billion, uh, 13 billion, whatever it is, and then the earth is 4 point something billion years old, right? I might have that reversed, but yeah. So you think about how old the earth is. Even if you look at humanity itself, modern humans are 250 to 300,000 years old. Um, um, and so you only live for 80 years, on average, right? Given that time and the age of the earth and the age of the universe, apparently we are not that important. We all live, we all die, and we all are forgotten about. But I think humanity as a whole, back when religion first started, was one of these questions: is there must be something else after we die? What is it that happens after we die? And so the fear that people have that when I die, that's it, is one of the things that drive religion, because especially in Christianity and in Islam and some of these other religions, they tell you that in some form or fashion you will return. Um, and it varies depending on the religion, but in some form or fashion you will return. Not only that, but in many of these religions, you will see your deceased loved ones again. It don't say what in whether you see your mother, whether she's the 80-year-old version of herself, or she's the 30-year-old version of herself, or the 18-year-old version of herself. It doesn't say that. And the same thing for you. But the idea that we will live again, exist again in a different form, but it certainly exist again, and that we will see our loved ones again is absolutely something that people hold on to, that keeps many of them tied and shackled to this faith, to these faiths, these religions. And so that is one of the other things that people, and I remember when one of the things, the first things that my mom said, uh, not necessarily to me, or to my, she might have said it to us, but when we first told her that we were deconverted and we no longer believed the way she believed, our first question was, "What? Who's going to bury you? Well, how does that whole process work?" And I was like, "That's not something that I'm even concerned about." And to an extension of that, I'm not concerned about what happens to me when I die. After I die, I'm just not concerned about that. And so it is what it is. And so I don't believe that I come back. Um, if I did, if I do, then that's fine. As I oftentimes say here, I believe what I believe, but I also leave open the possibilities that I could be wrong, and not just about religion or Christianity, but what else is out there, right? Because there could be something out there that has nothing to do with what we've been taught or what we believe or what we know. And so I leave open those possibilities. As I said to a group last night, anybody who says they 100% know when it comes to this topic is lying to you. And I'm an atheist. I don't believe in any gods that we know of or that we've created. But that does not say that there isn't something out there beyond what we know or what we've created or what we believe in. That's not saying that there won't be something. Or I could be wrong about the whole Christianity thing, right? But as of today, right now, I don't believe I'm wrong, and I'm almost sure that I'm not wrong about that. Could there be something supernatural that exists out there? Absolutely. Could that thing be a god or a deity? Absolutely. Could it be something else that we can't define? Absolutely. And so that's where we are with that. Um, the next topic, or the next reason why people are reluctant to sort of let go, in spite of the evidence, is their identity is tied up into their faith, right? Sharon said, "If I come back, I won't know ahead of time anyway." Exactly. I'm not going to know what happens to me when I die. I'm not going to know if I come back. So if you look at people who believe that they've been here before, or they existed in a different body or as a different entity, it's only sort of bits and pieces that they may remember, or they have this uh, deja vu feeling of I've been here before, I've done this before. But that is a very minute in the grand scheme of their of living an entire life, right? And so, as Sharon said, I won't know. I might have some moments of deja vu. I feel like I've been here before, and then who knows? I might if that's real and I come back, maybe I come back as a dog or something, man. I don't I don't remember any of that. But that's sort of just sort of putting it out there like that. So yeah, um, back to the whole social identity. A lot of times our identity is tied up in our faith and our religion. Oftentimes, especially with African Americans, They are often identified through the phrase, but he's a believer, he's a child of God, he's a man of God, he's a woman of God, as if that's sort of the blanket umbrella statement that sort of supersedes everything else someone does in their life. And I know many Christians believe that to be the case. If you've attended funerals, regardless of what the deceased has done in his life, bad, good, or indifferent, um, the most important thing, at least so it appears from the standpoint of the person who's doing the eulogy and those who know this deceased individual who are around, the most important thing seems to be whether or not he was a believer, whether or not he was a child of God, whether or not he was a Christian, whether or not he was saved, he or she was saved. Um, and I remember, I think I may have mentioned this. It's probably been, well, actually, it's been 2 years ago now. 2 years ago now, my godson passed away. He was 30 years old. I think he had just turned 30. And so we had to go back to Atlanta. So I know it was 2 years because we were here. So it was 2 years ago. So we had to go back to Atlanta for the funeral. And I remember during the eulogy, the pastor really harped on people becoming saved. And I felt like it was an insult because I felt like he was using this opportunity to sort of get a message out to people who may not have been Christians or who may not have been saved. When I think that for any funeral, it should be about the celebration of life for the individual who has passed away. It shouldn't be taken as an opportunity to invite people to become members of your church or to become saved. And so I felt some kind of way, as people say, about that whole process. But it just shows you how many Christians, many believers believe that the absolute most important thing in a person's life is whether or not they are saved. I say this all the time, especially in our community. There is grace for everything. Everything that a person may do, even some of the most heinous things, rape, murder, whatever. There's always going to be somebody who extends a level of grace to that individual. There's always going to be someone who makes an excuse for what this individual has done. The only exception to that is the individual who says, I am not a believer. I am an atheist. I do not believe in God. There is absolute zero grace for that individual. And so you can be a really horrible person, but at the end of the day, if you have confessed that you believe in God and people believe that you are saved, you are somehow viewed as a better person than the person who has done a lot of good things and lived a good life, but may not believe or do not believe in the God that you believe in, or do not believe in God at all, right? And I've seen this and I've experienced this myself. And so it becomes part of our social identity, who we are. It's funny, living out west, um, we've been here 2+ years, and I think I've had two people to ask me what church I attend. Those of you who've grown up in the Midwest, or especially grown up in the South, you understand that that is a prerequisite into who you are. That is a question that gets asked as often as where do you work, because it's part of your identity. It's always assumed that you do attend a church. So no one asks you whether or not you attend church. They ask you, what church do you attend? And so that was a question that you will hear quite often growing up in the South and living in the South. Being out here out west, as I said before, I've only heard that question twice, um, because it's not part of a person's identity, how they worship, what they believe in. That conversation rarely comes up, me living out here. And I'll say that the two times I was asked, it was by an African American lady who was from New Jersey. And we were at a Greek picnic, and she was an older lady. We were standing in line to get food, and she asked me. And then, ironically, the other one was a younger white guy from the Midwest who I was substitute teaching a PE class, and he was sort of inviting me to his church. Um, but in all of the other conversations that I've been engaged in, religion and do you believe in where you worship hardly ever comes up. And when it does, it is 99% of the time, it is among people who look like me, whether it be at my fraternity meetings, where they will talk about God or discuss the church and that kind of thing. And there are obviously within the fraternity, there are a number of clergy members, pastors, deacons, those type people in the fraternity. Um, and so that would come up in those circumstances. And so yeah, and so it is part of our social identity. It runs parallel with our political affiliation, and so forth and so on. And so there are people who are reluctant to leave because it is part of their social identity. It is, if we talk about oftentimes how the church has been the center of the community, where people get together and socialize, where people feel safe to dwell and to hang out, especially for their kids, their children to do the same. And so it's just become a very large part of who we are, um, when we worship everything, and so it's part of our social identity. The next reason that people are reluctant to leave religion, in spite of the evidence to the contrary, is the family pressure. That is huge. You guys know this about me. I grew up in a very religious household. My mother was extremely religious. She became a minister the last 10 or so years of her life before she passed in 2017. The two things that you could not miss in my house was school and church. And when we went to church, we were at church all day on Sundays. All when I say all day, I'm talking 9 in the morning until 6 or 7 in the afternoon. And this was every Sunday. We attended the summer revivals, not only at our church, but at every church, or every church that we could get to in the city of Birmingham, where I grew up. Um, and so forth, on and on and on. Wednesday night Bible study, all of that. BTU, all of that. And so it was really, and even my extended family, aunts, everybody. I mean, that's the South. It's a generational thing. Everybody grew up in the church, and so it was a big deal. Um, the 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 thing that helped me though when I started to deconvert and the family issues is that, um, my position in my family was one where, my other family members sort of revered me, for a whole host of reasons. And my sister, I was the older brother, the protector. My mother, she was always proud of me for all of my academic achievements and everything else. For aunts or whatever, I was always sort of the person who went off and did my own thing, and wasn't really concerned and worried about what anyone else think. For the extended family, and that's a whole nother long story. But I was well established into who I am when I met all of them. So their opinion, although important, really didn't matter in the grand scheme of things for me. They didn't know me very well, and so they just knew the things that they had heard from. And then I have, in that extended family group, I have a cousin who I'm really close to, and I've told a story about how we were longtime friends before we realized that we were actually second cousins. So we've been friends for almost 30 years before we found out that we were second cousins. But he understands me and my position. We've sort of gone through had these discussions. So from a family pressure issue, my situation may have been a little bit different than some people. Um, I didn't have that pressure to remain in a religion because of my standing in my family, right? I did have friends who um, ostracized me, who friends who severed our relationships because of the position I had taken, and I was no longer a believer, so forth and so on. But I know for many of you out there, the family pressures can be immense. Your family is extremely important to you. Um, you don't want to be sort of outside looking in. And I know a lot of people who are non-believers, who are questioning their faith, who have embarked on a journey of deconversion, but they have yet to let their family know for those various reasons, the family pressures. And so you ask yourself, how do we react in family gatherings? Um, like you, many of you, I attend family gatherings from time to time when I feel like it. But what happens when everyone wants to say grace over the food, or there's a prayer that they want you to do, or when your mother, your father wants you to attend their church because you haven't been there in a long time, so forth and so on. And so you have to figure out a way to deal with that, to deal with the family pressures of it, and still remain authentic to yourself. And I'm not telling you that you should become open about it, because I wouldn't say that, because everyone's situation is different. As a matter of fact, there is no need for anyone to be public about their belief. That's one of the things that I talk about with Christianity. Why I do the things that I do is because Christianity has left the realm of being personal to where it's become very, very public. And in the sense that it has become very, very public, it has become intrusive. It is inherently discriminatory, and we see those things in how uh, Christianity, in particular Christianity in this country, but Islam in other countries and some other religions, the way those religions are weaponized against people who may not be believers or believe the same way that the majority believes, right? And so it is not my it wouldn't be I would be just as happy as if to remain quiet about my disbelief, right? If it was not for so many believers who make their belief very public. And so I feel like that I am in the position, whatever that entails, financial, relationship wise, whatever, mentally, to where I can push back, right? I'm in a position where I can push back and say, oh, that's fine, but you need to consider these people who don't believe the way you believe, um, so forth and so on. And so, not having the family pressures to remain in a religion or in a faith is freeing. It is freeing. It allows you to do the things that you do. And even my wife and I, who deconverted at the same time, she gravitated toward Eastern philosophies and some Eastern faiths, while still, as I still decided that I would not become part of any religion, and that I did not believe in any type of God or whatever. Um, her belief in a higher power is very much what most people would define as spiritual. It is not a God that we know of. It is defined as sort of a higher power, however my wife defines it, and we're good. So we don't have conflict when it comes to that. As a matter of fact, we have some of the best discussions about all of this stuff, and we've allowed each one of us to be free in picking our path, and that's the way that we do it. So I don't have the immediate family pressure from my wife. I don't have that at all. For my family, my mother has passed away, but my sister, my niece, and nephew, we either don't really talk about it, or they know where I stand, and so we sort of go. We may make a joke every now and then about it, but it's not a topic of conversation very often. My sister is still very religious. My niece is very religious. She's grown now. She's 28, just turned 28 last week. Um, and my nephew is 34, 35. Is I think that he is searching. He sends me videos. He asks questions, and so I think that he's searching, and so that is a good thing. Um, but yeah, so we do that, and then finally, well, not finally, but I'm not sure we'll get much past this next one. But a lot of times it's confirmation bias as well. I mean, that's another reason why we remain. Um, Sharon said most of the religious people don't actually practice the things they spout. I am over the hypocrites from the church. Like you, I've had lots of people here in Arizona want me to come to their church. Yeah, so Sharon, I heard, And I never lived in Arizona. We visited a couple times. As a matter of fact, one time we were there, someone told me that Arizona was sort of the Mississippi of the South. Now living here in the state of Nevada, I've heard the same thing about this state. But I will tell you, I at least living here outside of Vegas, it is very liberal. The people are very liberal, so I don't know how true that is, but I know Arizona might be that situation. And so, like I said, I've only had two people that even inquire about church that I attend or do I attend church. You may be getting more of that in Arizona. I think Arizona's a little bit more conservative. Um, Sharon said, in the same breath, I won't ever be a person who they would give a general conversation. Yeah, so it is just, it is freeing to be able to meet people and have conversations and not hear church, religion, Christianity, God, all Jesus, all of this all the time in the conversation. It's just refreshing. It's my personal preference not to want to hear that, not to want to be around that. Um, Even though I'm African American, and so African Black people tend to believe that it is it is ingrained in us. It is part of our identity that you have to be a Christian if you're Black. And some of that is this is not Atlanta, so I don't. I'm not constantly surrounded by people who look like me. There's a large enough amount of us here where I see us all the time. Um, but it's not, again, it's not Atlanta, it's not Birmingham, it's not Charlotte, it's not Jackson, Mississippi, it's not Memphis, it's not any of those places that has a very, very large African American community. And to that to that point, it's great because I don't get the whole church thing all the time. Um, you said prejudice there is second place to Florida. Okay, so Arizona might be the one exception. I find that out west people are a lot less prejudiced. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I have found people to be a lot more open. Um, um, and racism is foundational to this country. But as I said to some people before when I had a conversation earlier, there are levels to this thing. And so when you grow up in Alabama and you spend 30 years in Georgia and you lived in Tennessee and you spent time in Mississippi and South Carolina and North Carolina and even northern Florida, northern part of Florida, um, you realize that it is a different beast. When I say it, I'm talking about the racism. Racism in the South is foundational to what built the South. It is, and I know the Midwest. I mean, there's places in the Midwest that are probably just as racist. But what I tell people is that the South was built on the civil rights. I mean, civil rights and the Civil War. So you get we in the South there are buildings and schools and um, streets and named after Confederate soldiers. Every park uh, in the South has some kind of tie to the Civil War, right? There are, Stone Mountain, where everyone in Atlanta go and hike. There's a history of racism attached to Stone Mountain. And so it is refreshing to be out here and be able to go to a museum that doesn't feature either civil rights or Civil War. And I'm not shoo-shooing on civil rights because I wouldn't be here without that. But at some point in my 50 plus, almost 60 years of existing, I just want to be a person to just live and be who I am. And I don't always want to be painted with the brush of being a black, this is Black Willie, or this is Southern Willie, or this is whatever. And so what I found out here for me, this is my experience, is that it is somewhat different. Um, um, I don't feel the heaviness that I felt living in the South when it comes to racism, and this is indirectly related to our topic in the church as well and religion as well. Religion is a large part of that. Um, and so I think when you are in a place like here that doesn't have the religious constraints. What that says to me about many of the people who gravitate and move here, this is a very transient city, is that it attracts people who are generally, not everyone, but generally speaking, are fairly open minded. They are fairly liberal. Um, they have different experiences that are completely unique to the experiences of many of us in the South. And so I've met some wonderful people who have unique experiences that I would have never met growing up in the South. And so I will give you an example. The other day, my wife and I attended sort of a birthday party for a lady who was, I think she's turned 78. Very vibrant. That's a whole nother topic. I'll talk about the people who live out west and their health compared to the people down south. But she's very vibrant. She's always out doing her thing, enjoying life. And she turned 78, so we attended a party. So it was my wife and I, and one, two, three, four, five or six other white people, people who did not look like us, and they are friends of ours. And we sat around and we was talking about everything, and then the subject of Trump came up. And for the first time in my life, sitting around a table with five middle-aged to older white people, none of them were Trump fans. As a matter of fact, several of them just straight up despised Trump. And so you think about it, at least for me, what is the what are the odds of me being in the South, sitting around a table with people, white people who are my age and older, and not at least having one of them being a Trumper or a MAGA? Not that they don't exist out here, because they certainly do, absolutely. Um, but that's just an example of how this place is transient, and it tends to invite people who are a little bit more open-minded, who are a little bit open in their thinking, and so it is refreshing to me. And so I know that sort of let us off the path, but I think that there is a correlation between people who are more open-minded, people who are more liberal, and people who, because what it comes down to is that these people are able to think critically about things. They don't just follow the herd of people. They are critical thinkers. They think differently about stuff, and that goes for religious practice as well. Um, Religious people in general tend to be people who sort of go with the flock, black and white, regardless, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. One of the things I say about the South, especially living in Atlanta, is that it was a very homogeneous city and state. Not in the sense of everyone looked like each other, but whether you were Asian, black, white, Hispanic, it was a lot of similarities. And everyone went to church, right? Everyone worshiped a certain way. There's a handful of schools that those who were formally educated attended those schools. People play some of the same sports. Everybody loved football, college football. Everybody, there were military, a lot of military people. So it was a very homogeneous place there. And if you talk to anyone, you can kind of figure out, okay, there wasn't a lot of diversity in life experiences. I think it's probably the best way to say it. And I find it to be quite the opposite here. There is a huge diversity in life experiences here. Um, there's racial diversity, but there's also diversity in life experiences, and that is priceless for me, and I've certainly enjoyed that. But I think again, that reflects itself in how religious or how devout a person is. I think the more devout and religious a person is, uh, generally speaking, the less open they are. Um, and then the more open they are, the less religious they tend to be. What's happening, Neo? Good, Neo. Neo, somebody, I read an old comment, and I'm about to end this because I have another call. Thank you. Please hit the like button. Neo, I was going back through my comments from a couple of podcasts ago, and someone asked if I could share your information here for your for your podcast. I said, absolutely. I'm about to check out, but Neil, you can feel free to add your podcast information into the chat. And you can also do it the next time that we do this. You can do it, actually, you can do it every time if you want to. So we can get some of my people over there to your side and watch your stuff. So yeah, it was a comment, and they said now that Neo is no longer doing 6-hour podcasts, they would love to watch some of your podcasts because they would have to sit there for 6 hours. But and then this I didn't say this. This person said that the person who left the comment up under one of my videos, one of my podcasts, said that. And I said, absolutely, 100% support Neo. So yeah, so you can either put it in the chat now, or you can wait and do it the next time, and then we'll have it there every time, or you can just add it every time that you come on. But absolutely, guys, I'm going to end with this. Please support Neo. Go check Neo podcast out. They are wonderful. Neo is awesome. Thank you, Sharon. Yeah, please check out the site. I'm not gonna tell you who said it, Neo. I don't even remember, but I know I remember laughing when they said it. So, okay, cool. Yeah, we can do that. Neo says you want to. Cool. I want to interview you again to promote your book. Yeah, Neo, just let me know. I'm there. I am there. And we're gonna have you, Neo. We need to do a show here together. I got to get you on here. We got to do this together. But that is it, guys. I got to break out a little early. I got another podcast. I got another call I got to get on. But I certainly appreciate all of you who've joined us. You guys be safe. Enjoy the heat. It's still a little warm. Here's 108 today. But I got to go to Atlanta this weekend. It's my father-in-law's 70th birthday, so we will be doing that. Plus, my alma mater, Alabama A&M, my undergrad alma mater, Alabama. Say that together. My undergrad alma mater, Alabama A&M, is playing. Are we playing Howard? I think we're playing Howard. Is it Howard or Hampton? I think we're playing Howard this weekend, the first game. So Atlanta is going to be lit, but I probably won't be into all of that. I'll hang out with some friends, some fraternity brothers, but that's about it for me. But yeah, so you guys enjoy it. Have a great time. I will be talking to you guys in 2 weeks. See you then. Thank you. Thank you, Neo. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for everyone else who participated, who are on with us live, and those of you who will catch this at a later time. Thank you so much.